if you're in a position where you cannot, where you really genuinely struggle to have any sort of connections or interactions with the opposite sex, that's a very real problem. It's painful, and not being able to connect and relate to women or people is a very lonely journey. Is a very lonely place to be in, and it's important to be willing to do whatever the fuck it takes to get yourself out of that, because otherwise you'll stay in it. I mean, I always said, and I will always continue to say, that every man should be able to have the ability and freedom to choose to act on his own fantasies and desires in that moment. You know, I mean, I remember having a conversation with one of my girls, and she's like, "Do you have any fantasies?" I said, or I asked her what her fantasies were. She told me her fantasies. She said, "Well, what are your fantasies?" I was like, "I don't know. They come and go." She says, "Well, what do you mean they come and go?" Well, when I get the inspired fantasy or idea to want to try something, I do it. She's like, "Oh, so you don't have any?" I'm like, "No. When I do, I'll let you know." You'll be the first to know, unless you're not part of it.
Yeah.
But that's an absolute truth for me. Based on this time period to this time period, I created stories in my mind. I created stories in my mind that caused the effect that I wanted to experience, that caused the consequences of the experiences that I wanted to have. Versus what you've been doing, where you take this time period, you create stories about it that cause the effect that you do not want. It's a tough pill to swallow, because, I mean, at the end of the day, you have to take full responsibility for every action in your life and every consequence in your life. It's manning the fuck up and taking ownership of all aspects of our life, versus being a victim, telling ourselves all the stories, remaining in that victim mentality. You have to grab your balls and realize you still have them. And if you exist, you are enough to pull yourself out of the shit that you're in. And if you exist, you are enough to tell yourself different stories that align with the experiences that you want to have in life. I mean, that's what always frustrated me about guys over the years when I worked with them. Like, a guy would reach out to me after they were applying my teachings for 12 years, 10 years. They've been applying my teachings and going through my programs from a distance, and they've been doing everything they can to avoid doing the very thing that will get them the results that they really want, which is working with me one-on-one. But it's interesting how the mind can deceive us in that way. You know, we see something that we want, we know what we have to do. We know what we have to do, but yet we avoid it like the black plague. We try to be creative and come up with all these other solutions and try to come up with all these other ways to think that we can do it and figure it out on our own.
Yeah, that's what happens to me personally. I wasted a lot of time. Then I came to you and we started working together, and
yeah,
now it makes sense.
There's just so much more to it, right? And you're finding that out. You know, you're recognizing that now. You know, you're like, wow. Like, so listening to a 3-disc CD audio set, now I get it. There's so much more to this.
Also, interpretation of the information. Like, I had a lot of information from your program. I interpreted it in my own way.
Right.
Then when we started working together, you correct me instantly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's me. We're both absolutely right in our beliefs and our perceptions and the way we're looking at things. Here's you looking at me.
Yeah.
and you form your own perception and idea of what it's like and what it should be like or what it will be like, and based on what you're currently where you're currently at, and then you kind of form your own ideas. And but because you are a smart guy, because you went to a really nice school, because you had a good education, because you have, you worked, you really put your work in, you thought that you could figure it out from that arm's length distance, right?
Yeah.
But the only thing
it hurted me little bit because I was doing it, seeing it in my own way.
Mm-hmm. But in the long run, yeah, you were only hurting yourself. Yeah. You were really hurting yourself and causing yourself a lot more pain and a lot more suffering and a lot more loneliness than what needed to happen.
Yeah.
And it's also this weird protection mechanism, right? Because it makes it look like, well, part of you is like, yeah, I'm doing all this stuff, but you're really kind of spinning your wheels, you know? And so
fundamentally, everything that we've been taught is we can't change our realities. Life is what it is, right? That's a very core belief in each one of us. So when you see somebody like me saying, oh yeah, you can create your reality, there's still, even though you might get excited about it and you might want to do it and you really you're like, yeah, I can do that. Fundamentally, there's still this belief that wants to prove that you're right. and that it's that it is not possible. So you'll only take the actions to the degree that will give you just little bits of success to only go back to where you were. Say, see, I told you. It's not possible for you.
Gosh, yeah, the self-fulfilling prophecy, man.
It's a bitch. There's no other way to put it. It's a fucking bitch.
Yeah.
But it's robbing hundreds and millions of people from living their best lives right now.